Okay, so hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video, folks. Today we are predicting the World Cup semi-final predictions, but we are down to the final four, and which of the teams left in the 2026 World Cup will make it to the final at the MetLife Stadium here near New York City on Sunday. The semi-final is between France and Spain. Should be the final based on what we've seen, said BBC Sport expert Chris Sutton. Spain are the best footballing side in terms of the way they play and control games, while Spain have the firepower and the flair. But in the other half of the draw, England have not been anywhere near their best, but instead they have been the team who have produced big moments to get through matches. But they have helped by a pretty gentle draw so far, but I actually think they've got a great chance of getting past Argentina for many reasons. Sutton, Ali and users for the BBC's new Predator game are predicting the results of all 104 games at this World Cup. All three correctly picked the winner of the 4 quarterfinals, meaning the users now has been insurmountable overall the lead with 100 with the tournament's 104 matches completed. Chris and Ali have both been right 65 times, 65%. But if you are on top with the score of 72 or 72%, Ali's predictions has been generated using by the Microsoft Co-op chat. We simply asked the tool to predict the results of the World Cup semi-final ties. The BBC Predator game but allows readers to pick a winner from each knockout tie. So far tonight, I'm at this tie for the BBC Radio 5 live, and I can't wait. But as far as I'm concerned, France and Spain have been the best teams at this tournament for me. Whoever wins the game also wins the World Cup. Before you get into YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the unsubscribe button and support the channel, and give us a like, and it's free to do. Right, the only disappointment with Spain has been Lamine Yamal's form so far, because we've not seen the best of him, but he's been on the periphery a lot of their games. But when I was at the win over Portugal at the last 16, Nuno Mendy saw him off comfortably, but Yamal will be up against France left back Lucas Digne this time, but may well fancy his chances one-on-one in that battle. Spain will definitely need him to turn up, and Yamal scored when they beat France in the semi-final of the Euro 2024, and how he plays this time will have large bearing of how the game goes. I still can't look past France as winners, but however, they have scored 16 goals in their 6 games to get here, and they have won one of them all in 90 minutes. Only Argentina was 17. They have more, and 4 of their goals have come in extra time. And France are likely to play on the counter-attack, because how brave Spain are with the way they play with the ball. And press without it. I can see France having quite a few opportunities on the break. Spain have only conceded 1 goal so far, but Belgium have a few sniffs against them on the break in the last round, and with the pace and quality, France have up the front. But I feel like they can definitely push them. But whether Yamal comes alive or Nico Mourinho pops up again, Spain will score, but I just think France will score more. I'll say 2-1 to France. And then last on, England will face Argentina. England will never get a better chance of winning a World Cup semi-final than this, but Argentina are the holders. But they are streetwise, and of course they have got Lionel Messi as well, but this is an average Argentina side compared to some of their great teams in the past. But I look at France and Spain in the other semi-final, but they are not in the ballpark. But I covered Argentina's win over Swiss in the quarterfinals, but they were extremely lucky. But it was Berea and Barlow's red card that changed the entire dynamic of that tie, because until he was sent off, Switzerland were the better team in the second half. But the Swiss has moaned as much as they like about the video assistant referee getting involved for his second yellow card, but it was in simulation by Embalo. The frustration for them is that they will see Jed Spence through himself to the floor, but try to win England a penalty against Norway. They did not receive a yellow card, but when that decision was reserved, still the way the game went for Mbalo's decimal was good news for England. I'd definitely rather been playing Argentina than the Swiss, but I reckon Thomas Tuchel and England players will be absolutely delighted too. But they will think they can get at Argentina in wide areas. Argentina looked vulnerable, but Novely Molina, who started the right back, who was given a torrid time by Dan Nodai, who ended up scoring. Molina got hurt in the end, but whether it is him, Galazzo Montel, who starts against England, but they'll have their hands full with Anthony Gordon. Similar whether it is Nuni Madueke or Bukayo Saka on the right, but I think they will have the better of Argentina left back Nicolas Trelefigo in one-on-one duels too. And out in the centre of the defence, Lendroso Martinez has made mistakes after mistake in this tournament, and he has got him another Rick in him, but I'm sure of that. But the way Argentina set up, they overload in the middle of the pitch and play really narrowly, but then try to get Messi on the ball, hope he can produce something. I know it is easy to say you stop Messi, you stop Argentina, but watching them, that was literally the case apart from Messi. But they are hoping like Julian Alvarez bends one from the 25 yards rather than playing through teams. Alvarez is usually in midfield, but he played slightly differently against Switzerland, but was the one trying to stretch their backline, but he wasn't doing it, but no one else was. Messi certainly isn't going to be making those runs, but he was really quiet for long periods against the Swiss, but once they were down to 10 men, but he was probably looking more of a threat. But if Declan Rice is fit, but then it would be a job to deal with him. The Swiss realised could not give Messi an inch, but Granit Xhaka was brilliant at that. But Messi will still be dangerous, but he is 39 now. But as long as Tuchel has a plan to stop him driving into space, but I think England will have enough quality everywhere else to win. Look, it will be a brilliant tie because of the history between the two countries at the World Cups, with the Diego Maradona handball and the David Beckham red card. The previous meetings have been pretty fierce. I'm expecting more of the same here. I would not be surprised to see some antics from Argentina players, but they love that side of it. But they'll be happy. But if it turns into that kind of game where things get a bit wild, and England players might lose their heads, but if they can keep their heart cool, I'm expecting England to win comfortably. But my prediction is for Argentina to finish the game with 9 men. Messi has never played against England, but maybe he will make his mark. But England have got their own superstar now in Jude Bellingham. His first goal against Norway was sensational, but with his power, poise and the finish, he's absolutely flying at the moment. If it comes down to one player deciding this game, it is likely to be him. But I'm going for England to win 3-2 in a goal fest. I think football's definitely coming home. That's my predictions then for the World Cup semi-finals. Let's just talk about Phil Taylor's dominance, or greats never to win a World Matchplay. Or Gavin Price. Never to win the World Matchplay. The World Matchplay is the greatest players never to have won the World Matchplay title as we approach the 33rd edition for the Winter Gardens Major. The World Matchplay is the second most prestigious tournament in darts, but the second longest running. But only 14 different players have managed to get their hands on the trophy since the inaugural edition way back in 1994. The main reason for this is that Phil Taylor remarkably won 16 of the 17 Blackpool finals, has appeared in an average over 100 in 12 of them. Hence, Michael Van Gerwen deserves a lot of credit, but being only the player to deny him as a clear sweep as we approach the 33rd edition of the Winter Garden Showcase, which is the only major event never have changed venues aside from the COVID event of 2020. I'm going to look at 10 of the best players never to have won that. Of course, there is a real handful of this list who still have time to do it. Let's talk about Peter Manley. Peter was runner-up in 1999 when he loses one of the closest finals of all time against Ron Harrington. When he looks back, he probably thinks he really should have won it, but he was agonisingly pipped 1917 as Harrington lifted the trophy for the second year in a row. But it wasn't the best of the standards, but with both players averaging the mid-80s, but the closeness made it so memorable and very exciting to watch. And it went on for ages, and it was one of the most encapsulating finals we've ever had. Peter actually had the hardest job of all in the semi-finals when he overcome his nemesis Phil Taylor 17-14. He's certainly not a player to pull this feat in the major tournament. Only lost in the next game. Just ask Wayne Mardle or even me, but I once beat him at the UK Open, then lost to James Wade in the very next day. But although I did it, of course, to do it on my way to winning the Players' Championship Finals title, Peter didn't get another crack at a final in Blackpool, which is somewhat surprising given what else he achieved. So he'll be gutted he didn't take his chance, but further hints his legacy. Alan Warner Little. Alan was a multiple-time world number one in the 1990s and the early 90s, which is actually elevates him to a higher level of greatness compared to the other major winners down the years. So having this title in his local locker would have given his name even more gravitiness. Unfortunately, he ran into Phil Taylor on two occasions in 1997 and 2000, during the time when the power was generally seen as unbeatable. Taylor averaged a phenomenal 106 and 100 in those two finals, but Alan produced superb performances of his own, 98 and 97, giving him a run for his money during the 16-11 and 18-12 defeats. John Part also reached two finals at the Winter Gardens, but I put him above Alan in this list, but because of the other titles he's won in his career, including 3 World Championships. He ran into Taylor in an epic 2002 final, which he opened his trademark battling spirit, but every step of the way he defined his opponent's impressive 98 average before eventually losing 18-16. It was partly Part's fault that Phil was so dominant because he was one of the few players who could really push him to these new levels. The 2005 final holds a strong place in many of darts fans' hearts because of how Colin Lloyd won it with 170 checkout. His celebration, the hug he shared with John at the end, but one of the few times anyone can came up against someone other than Taylor in the final, it was Solds. Lloydie was enjoying such a hot spell, but I'm sure John was gutted deep down that he couldn't add this title into his illustrious list of others from his career. Terry Jenkins. I have Terry in second place because of the amount of overall near misses in his career, even though John is obviously the more successful player. He was two-time runner-up in 2007 and 2009. He was also lost seven other major finals between 2006 and 2014, making him one of the greatest players never to win any. I don't want to sound harsh on Terry because he has played well in some of these finals, but unfortunately he ran into legends at the wrong time, and he suffered surrounding defeats in very much all of them. In Blackpool, he lost 18-17 to James Wade, where he was really starting to cook, and 2 years later he was thrashed 18-14 by Taylor, who averaged 106. But this was the story of Terry's career, and if it come up against one tournament wonder or someone in similar standing, he would definitely have got the job done. Nobody gives him the credit of how good a player he actually was. Dennis Priestley, Adrian Lewis. Right, Adrian Lewis. Although Adrian's comeback to darts hasn't yet resulted in him trying to win in this tour card back, but we're all hopeful he can achieve this in a not too distant future, and maybe, just maybe, return to major winning form. Jackpot has the highest losing final average in the World Matchplay of history of 105.92 during his 18-13 defeat to Phil Taylor in 2013. It just shows how well the power had to play in that final, but has managed an astonishing 111.23. But if he played anyone else, Jackpot would have a world matchplay title to add to his other major crowns for sure. And maybe this will prove to be his final chance to triumph in Blackpool, unless he has an exceptional, inspirational second win to his career in the coming years. And Raymond van Barneveld, considering everything that Barney has achieved, but it's surprising that he's only appeared in one Blackpool final. That was back in 2010 when he lost 18-12 to the power, Phil Taylor. He averaged over 100 in that day too, but he became yet another player to run into Phil at the wrong time, as the power averaged 105. But he's won 5 different major titles in the PDC, but his record at the Winter Gardens is pretty strange. Only reached the quarterfinals once in his last 8 appearances there between 2011 and 2018. And then Michael Smith, going into that final in 2019 against Rob Cross, everyone had Michael Smith as the favourite because he looked ready for the first major title. People doubted whether Rob had the arsenal needed to take Bully Boy out, but nobody expected him to be gifted such a big early lead. And Michael got off to an awful start, but maybe due to audience expectations. But despite a valiant comeback, but it was too little too late in an 18-13 defeat. Had Michael got off to a better start, he would have won that final and probably would have a lot more majors by now. But in fact, he might be standing here now as a multiple world champion. After defeats across, he has lost 2 more of his 8 major finals in deciding legs, but he had the confidence of being a World Matchplay champion, but he won't have found getting over the line so tough. Johnny Clayton against Gerwin Price. Johnny Clayton, he has been close, but we all know that year he reached the final in 2023 was fraught with extreme hard personal circumstances. The stars are light and Johnny finds a vein of form, that clicks, he could find one of the missing pieces to his career puzzle, but lesser players than Johnny Clayton have won this title in the past. He is on form. He's one of the most stunning finishers the sport will ever seen. He's done it over multiple disciplines. He's proven at the format, but he's probably, even though he's not English, but I think as each year passes, he understands that he's running out of time to get this, but that will give him motivation, as he's not got the time that Wade, Littler and Humphreys had when they were gunning for their first. But another thing that helps is how well he plays against the top two in the world, but he can keep them on and not look at the back when the others are struggling to keep pace. Johnny would be a romantic winner, but the romance doesn't always get you what you want in the odds. But the accuracy, heart, fight and skill, Clayton has them all by the bucket full. Gerwyn Price, even though he has stated recently that he's lacking motivation, but he still holds the capability of winning this title. But his scoring ability and prowess and playing in long format match play has been evident throughout his Grand Slam victories and the World Championship win in 2021. But he has also had excellent runs in this very event prior to 2026. I don't think the format is the issue, because some of the people it is. Some players just can't go the distance, but he can. If he chooses to, it's another thing, and I'm not even sure him being Welsh is the biggest factor. But if they were in the final against a popular English foe, that would have made it doubtfully tough. So how does he win it in the future? Motivation to success. People say he can't be bothered, and people generally casting him aside might be getting the fire burning and get him primed for an unexpected run to the title. Whether that is this year or the other is a different thing. But most people would say he's one of the best players of all time, not to lift the Phil Taylor trophy, and maybe even the best. So that's my predictions then, and for the great players never to win the match play. Leave on the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, peace out.